Hello, hello. Happy finale day. I am super psyched to talk about the season finale for House of the Dragon. This is season 2, episode 8. Now, season finale, mixed feelings. Great episode. However, well, I should say great episode, not action packed, which is not necessarily the point, but I don't want to say I found it lacking because it's not what it was. See, here's what happened. A lot of the key kind of gotcha pivotal moments were spoiled for me because the episode leaked. And I'm so disappointed about that. I knew the episode leaked. I knew not to click on any spoiler videos. So I was very, very aware and trying not to go to the comment section of anything discussing episode 7 because, again, the episode leaked. So I was like, no, I don't want it spoiled for me. I want to watch it. I want to take this week. I want to enjoy this week before the very last episode. Kind of like delayed gratification. I want to hold this season out as long as possible. But there were some people who I have no words, who went and leaked them, and they leaked them in the worst places. They leaked them on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. And that is how I had the key, like the best pieces of the episode absolutely spoiled for me. So here I am scrolling through, watching all of my watching the TikToks and watching the YouTube Shorts. And of course, what happens? Like a scene comes up and you're looking at it, you're like, when did this happen? And before you realize it, you're like, oh my God, no, this is, and it says at the bottom, like in the title, but you're not reading the title. You're just scrolling. You're just doom scrolling. Like I love a good doom scroll before bed. I know you're not supposed to have electronics before bed. It ruins your sleep. This is my doom scrolling time. I like to doom scroll. And up pops spoilers just completely out of nowhere. And you're looking at it, you're like, what is going on here? Because I don't remember this scene. And then all of a sudden you realize that this is so I had some of the best moments of the episode absolutely ruined for me. And to the people who uploaded those without like at least a 3, 2, 1, this is a spoiler thing before they played it so that you just stumble right into spoiler zone. I hope that every time you pee, you can never completely empty your bladder. I hope you always just have to pee just a little bit. I hope that your nose forever runs, not a whole lot so that you have to blow it, but just enough so that your septum is always wet and you get that little kind of rash underneath. I hope that you always have a hangnail. And the second that you get the first hangnail grown out enough to cut it off, you get another one on the immediate next finger forever. And I hope that every single time you run your fingers through your hair, your hangnail gets stuck and rips just one strand out. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into discussing this episode now that I've had my little temper tantrum. And I'd have to say that at least this episode did not disappoint. They do, in fact, have the red sewing updated in the tapestry just in time because it's going to be a cold winter. And I'm in Canada. We have some cold Canadian winters up here. So at least I get a peek at the new tapestry to keep me warm through these long next 8 months of snow. So first of all, it looks like we're getting a different angle of Rook's Rest. We can see that this is definitely Rook's Rest because we can see it, but we're getting it from a totally different angle. It's not really centering on it. And it took me a second to kind of catch my bearings. I do also love that they've added these borders to the tapestry. So I wonder if at the end, at the very end, so like bookmark this and we're going to bring it back later. But I wonder if at the very, very end of this series, it will pull out and we can get a full view of this whole tapestry because you can totally see borders on either side. I want to pre-order the tapestry right now. I will 100% hang this in my rec room. So from this angle, we do get quite a bit better view of how it was shown before. We can see that the bodies strewn about at the bottom of the two tails, and we are getting closer to our new addition. So this here is interesting because I'm not sure what it's getting at. I'm wondering if this is supposed to be Vagar inside the circle, and that's like the greens, right? And then Cyrax is the golden dragon here that is kind of engulfing them in flames as a symbol of The greens right now just have the one dragon, Vhagar, and then Rhaenyra's dragon is leading the way, and then it kind of shows the rest of the dragon riders. So here's a little bit better view of the rest of them. Then you can see there's Caraxes, Moondancer, Vermax, and then I wonder if Silverwing and Vermithor are going to be added as well, showing all of the dragons on the black side, because right now that would be all of Rhaenyra's dragons versus just Vhagar, because even though we do see Tessarion kind of in the end, he's not really there with Vhagar yet. So it's kind of like what, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 against 1 right now. And then I think this here is Dragonstone. Now, what's interesting is that they kind of removed all of the black. Remember, basically up until just last week, there was a black pool coming out of the dragon. There was like black, I don't know if it's blood or ink or whatever that was coming out of the dragons leading up into the throne room. But now all of that is gone and it's just showing these kind of dragons. Like the black used to come out here, but now it stops. It doesn't kind of go all the way through. Anyways, that's me noticing little things. That's what I think so far. I wonder if this kind of represents the red sewing. And I wonder if the ones that are on this gold line here, like it was Cyrax ahead, and I wonder if this here, the red one is Caraxes, and then the last one is Vermax, and they're all on the line because that's the line of succession, I wonder. Not that Daemon is like on the line of succession, but you know what I mean, like that's the reigning family. So jumping into the opening of the episode, we have Sir Tylan Lannister, my favorite. And he is with the Triarchy. They're over in Essos, and he's meeting with the Triarchy because remember, he wants them to come in and he wants them to fight Corlys to clear up his chokehold on the gullet there so that there can get trade back into King's Landing. They are kind of driving a hard bargain. They are not immediately jumping at the chance to go fight Corlys again. And they do have a little bit of a steep answer. They want money, they want the stepstones, and they want him to get the okay from the leader of their ships. He's trying to say, like, we don't really have money, this and this and that. He's trying to negotiate, but, in the end, of course, he gets it done. Here, I can't help but remember that in Game of Thrones, in the original Game of Thrones, I remember Olenna Tyrell was so excited to meet or Tyrion, and then when he finally met Tyrion, she was like, "Oh, imagine my surprise when I finally met you after hearing all of these things about you to find out that you're just a browbeaten pencil pusher," or something like that. And that's really what he comes off as, especially in comparison to his brother. He really comes off as very low confidence and just, I don't know, a browbeaten pencil pusher. So they finally tell him, "Oh, yeah, yeah, we have a deal," but again, he has to get the okay from the captain of their fleet. And he's like, "Okay, where is this guy?" And this, of course, is Loha, the captain. And so we come again where this is butting up against the fact that they are trying to uphold the patriarchy. They are trying to stop a woman from having power. And here in this example, again, is a woman in power, and they will not fight without her okay. So it's just kind of the symmetry is just beautiful. So she says she will not sail with a man that can't best her. And so she challenges him and he's like, "Okay, what are we gonna do?" And of course it cuts off. We'll find out later. Next we see Aemond looking out at his handiwork. And we quickly find out that this is not something that Rhaenyra has done, but it's actually something that Aemond has done in a temper tantrum. The episode quickly takes us to visit Aegon, and his recuperation is still going slowly. He is trying to convince Maester Orwell to sneak him some rum, and Maester Orwell is just trying to get him better. He just wants to treat his patient and avoid all of the politicking. But there's too many eyes on him. Everybody's watching him, and everybody has expectations of his care. Remember, Aemond is trying to get him to just drug Aegon up and keep him basically comatose in bed. Laris is trying to get him to do a speed run through his medieval physical therapy and get him on his feet as soon as possible. And Aegon just wants to forget about life right now. He just wants to have some rum. Remember, he is one of those more hedonistic characters. He was always down for instant gratification, the physical pleasures. And now he is laid in this bed by himself for how long? And he may never fully recuperate. Soon Laris comes in to have a conversation with him. He is telling Aegon, "We've got to get out of here. Things are taking a turn for from bad to worse, and it's not looking good." Aegon doesn't really understand. He's like, "Why can't I just take the throne? Like, just get me to the throne, I'll take the throne." But Laris is saying, "It is so much more complicated than that." So, Laris does confirm that Aemond went to Sharp Point and laid the town to waste because he was so angry about Rhaenyra finding the 3 new dragon riders. And even Aegon realizes that this is a bad idea, but Aemond is a man on a mission. His ego was bruised, and now he is just going to have a moment. Well, a moment and a half, probably. Aegon is still not quite getting it. He's like, "I'm the king. Why should I have to run?" And Laris is like, "Because your brother's going to kill you. He is going to kill you, and then you are going to be dead, and then you cannot be the king when you are dead." So Aegon says, "Just take me to the throne. I will have him imprisoned." And then Laris says, basically, "How are you going to win this war without Vhagar Ryder? Like, you still need your brother. You need him to fight Rhaenyra's side, but he's also going to kill you. So what we should do is I'm going to put you in a box, right? And then we're gonna ship that box to Essos, where you're just gonna hide out until Aemond and Rhaenyra are done fighting each other. And then you can come back and be like, 'I'm the king.' And then you can be the king again, because then it'll be okay and you'll be healed up and it'll be all good." I am missing a dragon. He just said, "What happens when Rhaenyra descends on you with her 7 dragons?" There's Rhaenyra, right? That's Syrax. Then there is Jace is Vermax. Bela is Moondancer. So that's 3. They got 2 new no, they got 3 new ones. Okay, okay, okay. I am having such a hard time keeping track of the dragons. Okay. Then there's Sea Smoke, Silverwing, and Vermithor. And then there's Caraxes. Okay, okay. I found the 7. Aegon is going through about how he's crippled and he's alone, and he has some rather racist words to say about the people of Essos. And he mentions he's alone. And Lara says, "You're not alone. I'm here." And I think this is the first time that Aegon's probably had a friend that's trying to do something good for him. Now, it's purely strategy and it's purely selfish. I'm not trying to say that. But this is probably the first time that Aegon's had somebody that's like, "I will be through with you through this hard time." He also starts describing some of his injuries, which are kind of horrific, and make it very clear that none of the things that he took pleasure in before are going to be available to him now. And also that he's not going to be able to have any more children. Let's just put it that way, which puts Aegon in the exact same position as Viserys, because as far as we know, he only has the one child, Jaehaera, now, which is a girl. And that was the problem in the first place, is that Viserys left the kingdom to a female. Now, in this case, I guess Aegon cannot now have heirs after her to contest her reign. But yeah, either way, this is the crown's getting left to a female. Now, this is the key takeaway I take from this piece of this conversation. Laris is trying to sell him on running away, right? And so he's saying, when you get back, the people will be so tired of the war between Aemond and Rhaenyra that you will be celebrated. And then he starts spitballing some titles. Aegon the Victorious, Aegon the Uniter, or something like that. And then Aegon the Peacemaker. And then Aegon says, Aegon the Realm's Delight. And I think that says so much. He has always been jealous of a sister because Rhaenyra has always been known as the Realm's Delight. And it's funny that I brought that up last episode with thinking that Daemon was jealous of Rhaenyra being the Realm's Delight when it was really Aegon. That is absolutely wild to think that everybody is just jealous because they are not the Realm's Delight. Next, we get Rhaena, who's still trekking through the wilderness. She's lapping up water as if she is totally dehydrated, so I guess that's meant to tell us that she has been on the road and that she has been going through the elements for a while now, but nothing much happens in this scene. In the next scene, we get Jacaerys meeting the newest dragon riders, and Ulf's hanging out at the head of the table with his feet on the war table because, of course, he is. We come to learn in this episode that while Adam and Hugh take their new station very seriously and take being in the presence of the High Lords, take this opportunity seriously and act accordingly. Ulf, not so much. I thought Ulf would be the one that did. Like I didn't think that Ulf would act so entitled, but apparently he does. Hugh informs Ulf that you are speaking to the prince because he's got all kinds of attitude for this boy. And Ulf quickly jumps to his feet, but quickly puts those feet in his mouth. Ulf runs in for a hug as if they're long lost family members, which I guess they kind of are, but they're not. And Jacaerys is having no part of this. He is still clearly, clearly not interested in these new dragon riders. Jace is trying to impart on him how sacred it is to be able to ride a dragon, that this is not something that should be taken lightly. And Ulf is just not getting the message. Hugh is trying his best to apologize for Ulf, and he clearly does know some of the manners of court. He's very proper speaking. So it does kind of lead to the idea that maybe his mom was, in fact, a Targaryen princess because he clearly knows the ways of court. So Jace uses his opportunity to say, you need to figure this shit out, basically, because this is all real. What's going on is real. Aemon just burnt a city down to its stones with its people inside. This shit's real. We need to get our shit together to start protecting the small folk. Jace goes right in. He's essentially like, listen, if you hinder any of our efforts because you're lazy or you don't know what you're doing, I will myself have you hanged and fed to dogs. Like, you are not going to fuck this up for me. Ulf kind of gives a little apology, and the two of them walk off. But I have a feeling he has not learned his lesson yet. The next scene we get is with Rhaenyra and Corlys, and they are walking through the port at Driftmark and talking about the new dragon riders. She says that she's worried about the integrity of her dragon riders, and obviously for good reason. Corlys says that he knows Adam and Paul, but not very well, much to his regret. And he says that he apparently is a man of integrity. Corlys says that you have enough dragons now. You need to go and take advantage of this advantage. You need to go, you need to confront him, you need to get rid of Vagar. And Rhaenyra had said, I hope that the number of dragons I had would work as deterrent, but clearly that is not true. And Corlys said, no, it's time. You need to go and you need to strike. This advantage isn't going to work for forever. And eventually he's going to figure out some way to level the playing field. Don't forget, they do have 3 dragons. If you give him an opportunity to consolidate his power, to convince Helena to use Dreamfire, to get to Sarion down there, he's going to be able to challenge you once more, especially with the size of Dreamfire. Apparently, Dreamfire is quite a large dragon. And even though Helena is not necessarily wanting to fight, there's always an opportunity to change her mind, right? He also tells us that he has renamed the sea snake, his ship, to the Queen Who Never Was. And I love that for him. So he is sailing off to join the blockade so that he can make sure that they are prepared to fight either the Lannisters or the Greyjoys, whoever comes to challenge him. So it doesn't sound like they're expecting the triarchy, so I guess we'll see if Corlys is ready for them all. I really wish she would have a conversation about Laenor. Corlys basically tells her that the Lannisters are marching to Harrenhal, and so are the Hightowers and Tyrells, and that she needs to hurry up and make her move before all of the powers are consolidated because they will outmatch her if she does not start fighting back. In the very first part of the episode, they're going on about sheep and how there's no sheep available essentially. So they sent pigs and they ask if if dragons eat pigs, and Damon says Caraxes actually prefers them, and I this is such a throwaway little piece of a conversation for them to get from point A to point B, but I love that he knows what his dragon prefers and that dragons have preferences. I don't know. I don't know why. I love the fact that they prefer pigs over sheep or that Damon knows that, but I love that little it's adorable. The point is that Alfred has arrived and he's here to talk to Damon about how goes the army. He wants to talk in private though. Now, as it turns out, he's a turncloak. He says, "Just give me the opportunity and I will bend my knee to you if you should choose to make your play for the throne instead." Damon said, "I never took you for a turncloak, but it's good to know." Now we can see from here that Sir Simon Strong is ever watching Damon, and I kind of love that for him. Like, Simon Strong was the hero I never knew I needed in this episode, but he's got his little bit of information and he's running off. So Aemond is getting briefed on the Targaryen bastard smuggling fiasco that happened last episode. And now he wants the ports closed. No ship can come or go unless it has been inspected by their people. This, of course, is going to wildly slow down the fishing boats and the ability to get food, what little food they can get in and out of the city. And Aemon's like, "I don't really care," basically. People who are dead don't need food. So take that as you will. So Allison's back from camping and she's visiting Helena, who doesn't understand why everybody hates them so much. And Allison's saying, "We're the crown. People expect us to take care of them. This blockade is going on too long. They don't have any food, and they expect us to do something about it." Helena says that she was happier before she was queen. They talk about leaving when the Prince Regent comes in. He is basically demanding that Helena ride Dreamfire into battle, and Helena says, "I don't want to. I don't want to fight." And he says that you are going to ride her into battle and you were going right now. And she obviously is saying, no, she won't fight. She won't ride into battle. She will not burn anyone, that this is not going to happen. Alicent gets between them and tries to get Aemond to let go of Helena. And she is saying, no, you're not going to do this to your sister. You will break her. You will not put this on her. You are lost. You are lost in your greed and your envy. And with your little ego hurt, now you want to rage out and destroy the small folk, but you're not going to take your sister in this cycle of violence with you. Aemond has decided this is his mother's fault. I love how Aemond's reasoning is, we have to go kill people because if we don't kill people, then we're going to get killed. And he's blaming that this cycle is Allison's fault. But it's kind of Aemond's. Aemond is the one that drew blood first. Aemond killed Luke. If Aemond didn't start with Luke and put all of this into motion, then they might still be at a stalemate. They might still be able to negotiate or work something out. But Aemond is one of the people that keep, on the green side at least, is one of the people that keep upping it and upping it and upping it. Aemond did this, then Daemon did that, then Aemond did this. Now Daemon's gonna do something else, I'm sure. I'm sure it's actually, no, it was Aemon. So Aemon started with Luke, then Daemon went with Jaehaerys, but he really wanted Aemon. And then Aemon did Rook's Rest, so Rhaenyra got more dragons, which is, like, not really a negative against them, but she's all like, "This'll be a deterrent." Well, it didn't deter it because then now he did Sharp Point. So now Aemond is just escalating on his own without even the Blacks really having to do anything to him. They're just, like, doing their own little thing on their side, like Daemon's doing this and Rhaenyra's doing that, but they're not doing anything to him, and he's just escalating, escalating. So he's trying to also get Helena to go with him, to go do more things. So that would be like a third tick. So he's racking up ticks on the side of the greens, but he's blaming it on Alicent. So love that for him. Love that for him. Next, we see Alicent going to speak with Maester Orwell, and she needs a favor. Alicent wants Maester Ormel to find her passage, and we're kind of left there. There's lots of very, very short scenes in this episode. In the last scene, when she was asking Helena if she wanted to leave, it kind of leads you to believe that her and Helena are going to run away, but that is not actually the case. Next, we get good old Crispy. He's in the middle of the forest, sniffing Allison's handkerchief, and Gwaine confronts him about sleeping with his sister and breaking his oaths. Crispy has a self hating ramble about how he thinks of nothing besides breaking his oath and how he adores Allison. She saved his life. And it's the world's smallest violin. Crispy is still dealing with his PTSD from Rook's Rest, which, we all would. And his outlook on life and honor and duty are very bleak. And Gwaine just I don't know if Gwaine feels sorry for him or if he kind of blows his mind with his bleak outlook or what it is, but Gwaine is just kind of out logicked, defeated. He just sits next to Crispy and he's like, I cannot threaten you with any sort of violence because you are already Eeyore and nothing is going to make you feel worse than you clearly already do. I don't know how I feel about that, but crispy be crispin. Next, we get to see Thailand, and he is mud wrestling with the captain of the Tyroshi fleet, and I guess that is what she wanted him to best her at. They fight, he holds his own, she's impressed, and she's like, "Now we feast." He thought he was done, and she's like, "Now we feast." So he's going through all of the tests. In the next scene, we get Bela, and she calls Jace out for pouting, and he is definitely pouting. He says he's reading, she says he's pouting. I'm leaning towards pouting. He wants to know how Bela can be so okay with any common lout riding a dragon. She said, "That doesn't make me common. I'm secure in who I am, and you need to get your shit together and become secure in who you are. Otherwise, you are going to pout your way out of your own inheritance. You need to stand up, puff your chest out, and be the prince. Go sit next to your mother at dinner and be who you are supposed to be, who you were born to be." He is still wrestling with the fact that he's a bastard. He says, "You know what I am." And she's like, "Do you know how many of these kids are not sired by their High Lord fathers? You think you're the first bastard to inherit something? You're not." She basically says that by sitting here and sulking, you're proving them right. You're proving that you are unworthy. You need to suck it up, go prove you're worthy, and sit by your mother's side. And Jace is saying that he's heard these whispers his entire life and she would never understand. And she's like, "I understand that you make your destiny, but you can either make or break something yourself. You were born to Rhaenyra. She claims you as her heir, and you are going to talk yourself out of your own inheritance by sulking." Now we see Rhaena's shoes, and it's clear she's going through it out in the elements. She is still running away. She's on her running away vibe through the reach. Clearly, it's chilly, the elements are harsh, and that's all that's going on with her in this episode. Highland is still trying to get his way through this triarchy meeting. They're now at the feast, and he is trying to sing their national anthem. I don't know. But sing away he does. They are impressed that he knows the words, and the captain says she is impressed with him, and she would like him to sire some children on her wives. He's excited. He's like, "Awesome, awesome, okay," and because 'cause they're gonna sail together as well, and so he's finally closed the deal, and this is his happy face. Next, we are brought into Rhaenyra's celebratory dinner. Ulf is still working on his manners. Adam is embarrassed. Jace is annoyed. And so Rhaenyra gives a toast. She thinks it's going to break up some of the awkwardness. It doesn't. So Rhaenyra gives them the news that she had hoped that their mere presence, the idea of them, would deter Aemond and Aegon from challenging her. But that's proven to not be true. They're going to challenge her after we saw what happened with Aemond. It's clear that it's not going to be able to be ended peacefully. So they need to go after the strongholds for Lannisport. They need to go after the Lannisters, the High Towers, and the Tyrells. If they can break up these armies, if they can stop the Greens from consolidating their power and getting their allies together, then hopefully they can win the war without too much bloodshed. Bela is surprised that they have to actually go and attack innocents, and Rhaenyra is saying there's Rhaenyra and Jace both say that there is no choice. We have to go to war at this point. We don't want to, but we have to hit them. We have to hit them while we still have the advantage. Adam wants to know, what about Vhagar? And Rhaenyra says that Vhagar is just one dragon. While she is fearsome, she cannot take on 6 of us by herself. Ulf says that Silverwing is a goer and we ain't afraid of nothing. So it's kind of funny that out of all of them, Silverwing is probably the gentlest, as, demonstrated by the boops. And yet he's like the most eager to fight. The others are not eager to fight, but they have to. Soon enough, though. So they're supposed to fly in 2 days' time, but soon enough, Rhaenyra gets a message. Rhaenyra thinks it's Daemon's finally sending word, but the Maester says no, it's actually Sir Simon Strong. He says that Daemon has an army, but he fears treachery. And Rhaenyra is not going to allow this. She's not putting up with it. She has come too far and fought too hard for Daemon to come up and start acting a fool. She calls on Adam and she says, "We've got some work to do. Let's go. Get in the car, bitch. We're going to Harrenhal." Daemon wakes up to Alice crying at the edge of his bed. And then she says she's going out to the weirwood. Like, has this ever happened to you? Just you wake up in the middle of the night and there's somebody sitting on your bed crying and they're like, "I'm going outside. I'm going for a walk." Damon's response to this is, of course, to follow her. What else do you do? She essentially says that when he first got there, he was so rigid and he was trying to bend the world to his will, but the world doesn't bend in the way that you think or expect it's going to. You have to be more fluid. You have to work with the world, and things are going to be how they're going to be. You cannot control fate. You can't control destiny. This is pretty much what she's saying at this point. So she instructs Damon to touch the weirwood so that he could have a vision of the future. So he does see a whole bunch of things on this timeline and the timeline of Game of Thrones, including seeing Rhaenyra on the Iron Throne. This is one of the things that was spoiled for me, and it was very, very annoying. But he gets to see the White Walkers, he gets to see Daenerys hatching out the dragons and stuff like that. So there's no real flow of time. They're not in sequence or anything like that. He just gets a whole bunch of glimpses of like the three-eyed raven and just all of these things that happen throughout this timeline and the timeline of Game of Thrones. But most importantly, and I think that that is this, like that is that he gets to see Rhaenyra on the throne. So he knows that it's supposed to be her. He knows that this is what fate is dictating. Fate is dictating that it's Rhaenyra on the throne and not you. You need to support your wife. But the question is, has he come far enough to realize that we also get a scene with Helena? Now, the real question is Daemon ready to hear and understand what's going on? Is he ready to really take this in and have that marinate and have it resonate? Is he ready for this change, or is he still selfish Damon? The next scene we get is between Helena and Aemon on this balcony. And when I tell you, I kind of thought Aemon was going to throw her off. I did. I did. I just went there. It was dark. I went there. Aemon is still trying to compel Helena to ride her dragon into battle. Helena's response to Aemon trying to get her to go to Harrenhal with him is, "If I say no, are you going to burn me just like you did Aegon?" And he, of course, tries to deny it. He tries to say it's treason, but she says, "I saw you." And she reads him through all of the felt. She tells him exactly what happened. And you can see he's tearing up. Is it from anger? Is it from fear? Is it from rage? I don't know. But he's emotional at this point. Is he doing it out of regret? Does he feel ashamed? I don't know. He says that Aegon's going to heal and he's going to come back and he's going to sit on the throne and you are going to be dead. And Aegon says that I can have you killed for this, for just saying this. And Helena says, "Do what you're going to do, but you're not going to change fate." The next scene we get, clearly the next morning, and Syrax and Seasmoke are arriving at Harrenhal. And Caraxes hears them. He hears his buddies and he wakes up. he actually kinda looks excited to see them. Like, "Hey, guys, they got all the bacon you can eat." The entire army, obviously terrified by 2 additional dragons swooping in, because why would they not be? Rhaenyra pulls up right in front, and of course, Adam's not great with parallel parking. He hasn't hit that phase of driving lessons yet, so he's just gonna circle. Now, when I tell you that this entire scene gave me when your wife has to show up at your work for answer vibe, it was just 100%. That's 100% what I got. It's like you are in so much trouble if your wife has to come down to your work to see what you are up to. And Cyrax parks above, like, yeah, that's right. So he gives the exact answer that every guy gives when this happens. Like, "I was not expecting you here." And she's like, "You did not answer any of my text messages, my phone calls, my emails, my voicemails. So what did you think was going to happen?" He's like, "I got an army." And she's like, "Did you? Did you? What are you gonna do with it?" So she backs up and asks loudly, "Who are you sworn to? You tell me this. What are you going to do with this army?" He lowers his voice because he obviously doesn't want any of his boys overhearing him, and he's like, "Listen, things are not what I expected out here, like, these streets." And she's like, "No, no, 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 no. I asked you a question. Who are you sworn to?" He's like, "Listen, I didn't know things before, but I know things now. Like, shit's going down. Winter is coming." In the end, he finally bends the knee to his wife. He finally says that she's the true queen and says her whole ass title. He says that he is meant to serve her till death or the end of his story. And this is like the second or third time in this episode that they have brought this story forward. And I'm not crazy about the meta analogies. Like, I get that I'm watching a story, I get that it's a story. I really, really wish they didn't because it really reminds me of season 8 of You Know Who, like that, the season that shall not be named. We'll just call it the season that shall not be named. And I don't want to be reminded of those dark days. Like, those were truly dark. And I don't wanna be reminded that it's a story, like, I just wanna be immersed in my medieval fantasy, you know? I don't know. I don't know. It's just I wish they would have found a different word for it. Just anything else to be put in there. Actually, no, that and fairy tale. I also don't want it to be called a fairy tale. And soon everybody else also bends their knee behind them, even the turncloak. Simon is just sitting there, like, mouth aghast. Like, he's all like, "Oh, so this whole time to get him to act right, all I had to do was call his wife? She's going on speed dial. Like, I am calling her in an instant, drop of a hat." Every time he starts to, like, get a little bit of an attitude, wife's getting called. So at this point, she basically says, "Leave me again at your peril." Just like, "Leave me again, and I kill you." I was like, "I couldn't. I've tried." It's a cute little marriage moment. If this family were not, like, incest in, like, 6 different directions, this would be cute. I have to also say, I was so annoyed because this was another one of the scenes that was spoiled for me. So I know if I would have seen this out of nowhere, I would have had those tingles, the, like, goosebumps moment, but because it was already stolen from me, I was so disappointed. Like, this was one of the climactic moments of the episode, and it was that excitement, the joy, the disbelief was just stolen, and, I hope every single time that they open a book, they get a paper cut. And then I hope that and if they work in healthcare, I hope every single time they go to reach for gloves, they are the powdered latex kind. Now, the fact that Buddy runs out is not lost on me. So, is he going to back Damon and back in Rhaenyra, or is he going to try to turn cloak again? In which case, I really, really hope that Damon doesn't get a hold of him. Not because I think that Damon is a super loyal person, that's not why. Because Damon is a super petty person, and he will out petty any petty. So I'm not even worried about him for the magnitude of the punishment because he turned cloaked again. I'm worried about the magnitude of the punishment because of the petty. And Simon in the background is just so happy with his slow clap. He's like, "I did this." Now we go back to Driftmark for what is possibly the most surprising scene. I did not expect how this scene was gonna turn out. Now, Corliss is trying to have a conversation with Alan here, and he says, "You got a little bit of an attitude problem. The men find you curt and distant, and I find that our relationship is lacking." And Alan's like, fine, whatever. I'll work on that. I will pretend harder." Corliss also doesn't want this answer, and I know exactly where he's coming from because this is totally like a parent thing where you are trying to help the kid out and they are giving you all kinds of attitude back. But Corliss bit off a little bit more than he wanted to in this particular conversation. He says, "Is this is the help that you wanna offer after all of these years? When I was a child, watching you walk around with your real heir, buying him sweets when I couldn't even buy a loaf of bread to feed myself, when I was starving and hungry and wished for your help, and you couldn't be bothered with us? That now is when you wanna help me when I'm grown and I can actually manage for myself?" Corliss realizes that he has chosen the wrong dialogue option and tries to immediately vacate the conversation, but Alan is, "No, no, no, you started this, let's end this." Like, do you have any idea what hunger does to a young boy? These memories, these formative memories are seared into my brain. I am never going to forget how we were treated growing up as your bastards, how you had no time for us, you had no help for us then. He says, "Now, once your son and heir is dead, and your daughter, now is when you decide that I am alive. But no, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for you." And Corliss adds learning to read the room to his to-do list. We get to see Reina again, and she's still running, but she does spot a dragon. So there's that. The next scene we get is between Rhaenyra and Mysaria, and Rhaenyra is still grappling with the fact that she has to attack innocents. Then we get a scene of Rhaenyra in bed. She's got a secret visitor in the night. It's Alicent. Alicent has smuggled her way onto Dragonstone to have a conversation with Rhaenyra. And the conversation goes about as well as you think. Rhaenyra's like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Remember when I came to you and you were like, 'No, go away. I can't do anything.' Now you're here like this now." Allison's like, "I think I might have made a tiny mistake." Rhaenyra's like, "Oh, really? Oh, really? What part of" Rhaenyra's like, "Why have you come here? What do you want? Get to it." Alicent finally gets to the point. She wants to take Helena and her baby, and she wants to leave. She wants to run away. She wants to leave the court life and just live free as no one. Rhaenyra's like, "Now? Now this is what you want? It's too late. You were the one that told me it was too late. Remember a few episodes ago when I tried to ask you if we can just rewind and find a common ground, and you were like, 'No, no, it's too late. I can't help you.' Now you come to me?" Rhaenyra says, "If you wanna go, then go. Like, just go. Like, what does this have to do with me? If you wanna go wash your hands of what you started, just go. Wander off into the wilderness and do you." Alicent finally gets to her point. Said, "Listen, in a couple of days, Aemond is going to go to Harrenhal. When he's gone, Helena will be in charge. If you strike, then we will let you in, we will throw down our swords, we will open the gates, and we will bend a knee to you. You can take King's Landing, the war will be over, and everyone will be saved." And Rhaenyra's like, "Okay, okay. Nice little story you've written there. What about Aegon? How is he gonna feel about this?" Allison's like, "Listen, I'm his mom. I got the hookup. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna talk to him, right? We're gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna tell him, listen, bend the knee to Rhaenyra. You can't do this. You're broken." And he's gonna listen because he's my son, and we're like this. Rhaenyra's like, "Are you insane? That's not how this is going to work. He cannot live. As long as he is alive, there will always be a challenge. I don't have a choice. I have to take his head. I have to. It's great that you think that you can make this deal with no downside to you. It's wonderful that you think that you live in this magical kingdom where everything that you think that you get all of the wins in all of the areas, you get to leave. You get to take Helena. You get to take your grandchild and go off to the wilderness and wash your hands of all of this that you started. You get to end the war because you said so. You get to keep your son alive because he can bend the knee and because you said so. And that everybody else just has to fall in line. But that is not how reality works. As long as Aegon is alive, he will always be a threat to me and my family. Me and my family will always be in danger. Our lives will forever be in danger. I have no choice but to end him." She says, "Alicent, you have to choose. You have to choose. What do you want? Do you want to go through with this? Because this is going to end with Aegon. Like, Aegon loses. I have to. So if we are going to proceed, you have to understand that that is what the cost is going to be. It has always been the cost. It will continue to be the cost. Then Rhaenyra says those magical words, those words that really accelerated this entire arc, a son for a son. And Allison finally agrees. What we get next is a montage of all of the pieces being put together. And I think that this is really helpful because it gives like this very quick, high level overview of where everybody is and everybody's plans and where they stand. So the dragon riders are all suiting up because, again, they have to go out, they have to go and get ready to take King's Landing as per the plans with Allison. Bela is still running through the fields. Alicent is heading back to King's Landing. The High Towers are marching, and we get our first real view of Tessarion, which is Alicent's youngest son's dragon. We get the Stark army, which are the White Hairs, and they are coming over the twins. This is the Frey Bridge. So they are going to be joining the battle soon. Or were they called the Greybeards? Something like that. We get the Lannister army. We get Daemon looking out over his army. So here's the army at Harrenhal. We get Tyland on his ship, making his way through the storm to clear the blockade, and an overview of all of their ships. And then Alan and Corlys on their way to go and support Corlys's crew. Bela finds her dragon, I guess. I want to say, I love the look of this dragon. This is one of the untamed wild dragons, and I love how the other dragons all look so much more like prim and proper, and they look better taken care of. And this one here, he looks almost like he has like a little bit of vitiligo, or maybe it's just that he's missing patches of scales. I assume dragons have scales because of like rough housing. You can see how tattered and torn his wings are, with the boning of his wings are just like bare at the end. Like he just looks so unkempt and ragged. He is totally the flip side of Cheese Dog. If Cheese Dog were a dragon, he would look like this, all scraggly and scruffy and unkept, which gets me really, really excited to hopefully get a glimpse at the other untamed dragons on Dragonstone. I can't imagine how much better they're going to look. We finally get a peek at Otto, and who's got Otto? Because he's clearly in a cage. And then we see this carriage, and who's inside this carriage? It's Aegon. He's decided that Laris is right, and he's going to make a run for it. So my views on this episode, it would have been so much better if it wasn't spoiled for me. Like, honestly, it would have been so much better. I would have had the chills. I would have been I was riveted, but not what I expected. I really expected this to be a battle episode. I thought that they would make a move, whether it was to go to Harrenhal or whether it was to go to King's Landing or something. I thought they would do something in this episode. There would actually be a move instead of moving all of the chess pieces into play. But this has very much been a story building season. I can see why it was only 8 episodes. I think that if it was 10 episodes, people would have gotten much more bored with it. But then at the same time, if it was 10 episodes, they probably would have been able to do the taking of King's Landing. I don't know. Who knows what they would do with 2 extra episodes, but hopefully they would have like ended with something like that. Yeah, they could have done the Taking of King's episode in episode 9, and then I don't know what comes next after episode 10. So I guess that's where we're going at the beginning of the season next season, but then where do we go after that? Because it sounds like that's what they did. That's what Rhaenyra and Alicent have planned. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out now that Alicent's plan is not going to work out. Now that Aegon's not there, what is that going to do with Alicent and Rhaenyra's plan? It's very interesting. Also, I highly doubt that Aemond is going to be the type that just decides that since Rhaenyra took King's Landing, he's going to give up. I highly doubt that. Does not seem like something he would do. So that's probably not going to go as planned. Yeah, there's so much more to still see. Such a cliffhanger. Cannot wait until it comes back. I'm breathless in anticipation for next year. I don't know how I'm going to do it, go an entire year, but what should I cover next? I don't even know. I guess we'll find out next week. Just going to do it live and talk to you then. Bye.